Make sure we're all muted, and here we go. All right, so my name is Dave Neff, and I am absolutely delighted to be able to share a negative piece and a positive piece. Okay. Obviously, as you can see by the screen, there's some very, very serious problems we're going to talk about. But I am delighted to say that we have some amazing solutions to those problems. So as we talk here, we'll kind of reveal them more clearly. First, let me take this quote. I love starting with this because it makes it very clear that the government understands. No, maybe it doesn't understand, but it knows what's going on. So from the NIH, National Institutes of Health, here's this body burden article, a couple pieces from it. And it says, the past few years have brought with it many challenges and health concerns. It turns out that many, if not all, of the health issues causing people to feel sick and have symptoms of major diseases may have links to heavy metal toxicity, chemicals, and VOCs, volatile organic compounds. And what they've discovered is that there's over 70,000 known environmental toxins. And I got to say right now, we are blessed with some amazing, amazing things in our lives now, conveniences and so on, but they're coming at a cost. Some of these toxins that are out there can harm you through endocrine disruption, brain fog, kidney and liver damage. And there's the one we've been talking about a little bit, cancer, weight gain, and more. I mean, I'm the second oldest of 11 kids from the same parents, and I've lost 5 of my siblings to different types of cancers. And we couldn't figure out why until recently. And I'm happy to say, and I'll notate it right now, that the 2 latest are well as a result of what we're about to discuss right now. So let's take a look a little further. So this particular study I thought was extremely revealing. Very sobering, but very revealing. Toxic mechanisms of 5 heavy metals, and these are the 5 most commonly found heavy metals in the human body: mercury, lead, chromium, cadmium, and arsenic. Now, that doesn't belittle the fact that there are others, mercury and lead, and there's a bunch of others, but these are the 5 most commonly found ones. So here's how this study starts. Look at this. It says, and I'm just going to read this to you because I'm quoting them. The industrial activities of the last century have caused massive increases in human exposure to heavy metals. And there's the 5 that we talked about. They're the most common ones that have induced human poisonings, as shown from reviews both from animal and human studies. And but I want you to notice this last line here on this page. Acute or chronic poisons can occur following what? Exposure through the water we drink, the air we breathe, and the food we eat. That is critical to understand. We think, I'm going to get just this organic stuff. We think we're not getting anything. Guess what? Some of the organic ones are even higher. It is amazing how challenging this problem is today. Here's the conclusion of this study. And by the way, if you have a chance to get this particular study, in fact, if you want, I can send you a link to it. Sherry, you could send one too. But if you read through the study, you'll see what each one of those metals produces as far as major ailments go in the human body. Take a look at this. Bioaccumulation of these heavy metals leads to what? Toxic effects on a variety of body tissues and organs. These heavy metals disrupt growth, number 1. You don't grow correctly, particularly cellularly. Proliferation, that's the multiplication of cells. They don't multiply right. And in some cases, they're going to multiply into bad cells that create tumors and all kinds of things. Differentiation, that's the making of special cells, the cells for our organs, whether it be the heart or the lungs or the liver, or whatever it may be. This is disrupted. What about damage, the damage repairing processes? We need to be able to repair our bodies. And our bodies were created to be able to repair themselves. But when you're loaded with heavy metals and toxins, that process is damaged. And lastly, for the moment, apoptosis. What is it? For those of you who don't know, it's part of the immune system. Simply stated, it's the part where your body is able to recognize bad cells. Cells that can, I'm going to use the term, coagulate into tumors and all that kind of stuff. You know what kind of cells I'm talking about. Apoptosis, your body's able to recognize them and disassemble them, get rid of them. cause them to go into self-suicide, so to speak, and it stops that problem. Apoptosis. Keep an eye on that word as we go through, because there's a number of additional ways we're going to talk about it. So here's another study. This one, just the title alone shocked me before I read it. Exposure to arsenic. So we're honing in on just one right now. And subclinical cardiovascular disease in 9 to 11-year-old children. Come on. Heart disease in 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, and 11-year-olds. The findings suggest a significant association between arsenic exposure and cardiovascular disease in children. And you think, oh, I better keep them away from arsenic. Well, good. Make sure they're not eating any chicken that's been fed by commercial chicken feed, because most of that has arsenic, among other things, in it. And make sure they're not eating any vegetables grown in a commercial farm, because most of the different types of what do you call it? Fertilizers that they put on the commercial fields have arsenic right in them. And it's been happening for so many years that it's down into the soil. They actually, one study, take lettuce, a head of lettuce, into the labs and find arsenic, at least in trace amounts, in the leaves. Not on them. You can't wash it off. It's in them. You know, let's go have a healthy salad, shall we? Well, scratch the word healthy, because you're getting arsenic 9 times out of 10 is the way it's working right now. Well, let's move on. Focusing still on arsenic, I want you to take a listen to this next. On this next screen, I've got a video which is going to cite numerous studies relating to this heavy metal and the actual diseases that it's causing. Take a listen to this.
When people hear arsenic, they think of it as an acute poison, and indeed a tiny amount, 100 milligrams, could kill you in an hour. That's like the weight of a tenth of a paperclip. But there's also chronic arsenic poisoning, where even a dose 10,000 times as small can be harmful if you're exposed day after day for years at a time. Chief among the concerns is cancer. Arsenic is classified as a class 1 carcinogen. That's the highest level. Things known to cause cancer in humans, alongside stuff like asbestos, cigarette smoke, formaldehyde, plutonium, processed meat, consumption of bacon, ham, hot dogs, and lunch meat. So arsenic is pretty bad stuff, implicated in tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of cancer cases worldwide every year. Of course, cancer is just our number 2 killer. What about heart disease? Long-term exposure to low to moderate arsenic levels was also found associated with cardiovascular disease incidence and mortality, meaning heart attacks and strokes. Arsenic is also considered an immunotoxicant, meaning toxic to our immune system. How do we know that? Well, there's a virus called varicella, which is what causes chickenpox the first time we get it. Our immune system is able to stamp it down, but not stamp it out. The virus retreats into our nerve cells, where it lies in wait for our immune function to dip. And when it does, the virus reemerges and causes a disease called shingles. We've all been exposed to the virus, but only about 1 in 3 of us will get shingles because our immune system is able to keep it at bay. But as we get older or immunosuppressed, the virus can slip its muzzle, like if you're given arsenic chemotherapy. Shingles is a common side effect because the arsenic drugs not only kill the cancer, but also some of your immune cells too. But that's at high doses. Might even low doses of arsenic, like the kind we're exposed to in our daily diet, impact our immune function? We didn't know until this study, in which thousands of Americans had the levels of arsenic in their urine tested, along with their level of antivirus antibodies, and indeed, the more arsenic they had flowing through their bodies, the lower their defenses. And if you're pregnant, arsenic can pass to your baby and may not just increase the risk of miscarriage and infant mortality, but may also affect an infant's immune development and susceptibility to infections early in life. But you don't know until you put it to the test. infant infections in relation to prenatal arsenic exposure in a study out of New Hampshire. And indeed, the more arsenic the mom was exposed to during pregnancy, the higher risk of infection during infancy. Though it's unknown whether arsenic-induced changes in gene expression can impact the health of not only your children, but your grandchildren as well. Regardless, arsenic exposure isn't good for mom's own health associated with increasing blood pressure. If arsenic suppresses immune system function, though, then at least maybe as a silver lining, you get fewer allergies or something, which is kind of an overreaction of the immune system. Apparently not. Those with higher arsenic levels tend to have higher rates of food allergies, tend to not sleep as well, tend to not feel as well. If you ask people how they would rate their health, those reporting excellent or very good tended to have lower levels of arsenic compared to those who just reported good, fair, or poor. They tended to have higher levels. What about diabetes? Here's 24 population studies on arsenic exposure and confirmed diabetes. Any result over 1 suggests increased risk for diabetes. Anything below 1 suggests lower risk. And here are the results, suggesting an association between ingested arsenic and diabetes. But population studies can't prove cause and effect. While it'd be nice to demonstrate a cause and effect relationship, is it necessary? Look, we know it's a carcinogen. We know it causes cancer. What more do we need to take steps to decrease our exposure?
Okay, so I could go on and on and on with literally well over 100 different studies about the toxicity of heavy metals, other kinds of toxins. And we could also get into viruses and bacterias and living bad things as well. We'll talk about that. But the question is, what can we do about this? You know, we're living in a world where, I mean, if they can do a study in Antarctica and take the fresh fallen snow, take it in the labs and find exhaust type chemicals right in it. Last time I checked, nobody's driving their cars around Antarctica. But the bottom line is, it's there. It's everywhere. If we're breathing, we're getting it. Anyway, that said, a disclaimer. The following information about new discoveries, products, is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. That said, here is the real answer. Take out the heavy metals and toxins from the body, and the body will begin to fix itself like it was designed to do, quote unquote, from a special scientist. That is, let's keep that in mind. I'll refer back to this a few times. This is the key we're looking at. All right, so now, since heavy metals is really a problem, what if we simply cleaned the body out and the ailments actually began to disappear? That's exactly what happened with one of my brothers just recently. Well, Avini, the new little company, is looking at the overall picture of how the body does naturally function better when it is cleaned out. So why did the Avini get started? Avini Health was created to get revolutionary science-based discoveries, Rick Deitz's discoveries, we'll talk about him, directly to the people who can benefit through cleaning the body out and then begin to see improved cellular health and immune system function. I mean, to me, this is absolutely astounding when you see how it really happens. And when somebody in your own family stops the tradition, wow, of people dying of cancer over and over and over, and suddenly we discover that this was the answer. They had too many toxins in them, and we all start cleaning the toxins out, and wellness comes. Something's good with this picture. Well, here's the 3 founders. Rick Deitch, he's the chief scientific officer. He's a biochemist and inventor in the nutritional and pharmaceutical industries. He cut his eye teeth in the pharmaceutical industry and got over into the nutritional industry. He's just absolutely an ace, extremely knowledgeable in both industries, both sides of the coin, if you will. And I find that very valuable, actually. And Neil Roth, the CEO, majored in nuclear physics and math, and he's a billion-dollar business owner. And what's interesting, Neil had some physiological problems that were corrected from at least one of Rick Deitz's discoveries. And better yet, Douglas Dickey, the vice president of sales, a business owner and inventor, He was stage 4 with colon issues. He wasn't even expected to live. And yet some of Rick Deitch's discoveries basically just cleaned his body out so well, his body was able to fix itself. And his problem went away. It's just been an amazing story to see how these three have put together what I consider to be a wonderful, wonderful blessing. But anyway, that said, as a company, they strive to provide the highest quality tools. I'll reference them as that to clean the body out. They're not supplements, they're tools. They go in, they take bad things out, and that's it. They clean your body out. They try to ship them to the consumer as quickly as they possibly can. And they take, I love this one, really good care of the folks that are sharing their life-giving changes with others. So we're not just looking at a few products here. We're looking at some amazing scientific discoveries. And let's start with probably the most unique thing that Rick Deitch, the scientist, came up with. It's only taken him about 30 years. He's a little slow, but no, actually 30 years of intense work on this. Right in the middle there, it says most of these discoveries have an ingredient called micronized and activated zeolite. Now, don't stop at the word zeolite or even the word clinoptilolite, the type of zeolite, but stop at the trademarked name detoxolite, because micronized and activated, two words coined by Rick Deitch about the zeolite that he worked on. Now, you'll find other companies using zeolite, various kinds and whatnot. One company I talked to recently, and I let them know I'm extremely interested in zeolite and what it can do and so on. And I asked them, how do you clean your zeolite? Now, for those of you who don't know, zeolite is a volcanic rock. So when the volcano explodes, it goes out, and when it falls into salt water in particular, it causes the rock to form thousands of tiny little chambers. And each chamber has a negative electrical charge. And heavy metal particles, etc., have a positive electrical charge. So the action of the zeolite is to attract the heavy metals like a powerful magnet. Literally, it grabs them. So volcano rocks, the zeolite out in the wild, if you will, when it's mined, it typically is full of heavy metals already, because it's taken out of the air and out of the earth and out of whatever water it's around and so on. And those chambers all fill up. And what Rick Deitch learned to do was to clean it and activate it. So in other words, he empties those chambers, and no one else on the face of this earth today knows how to do that. He empties them completely, and he activates them, strengthens the charge, if you will, micronizes them. That means he makes them down to the size, takes them carefully down to the size of approximately 1/7 the size of a single red human blood cell. And then he, mixes them with some highly purified water. And then you have a solution that you can put in your mouth. It gets into your bloodstream very quickly and is designed to go through. And what it says at the bottom, very effectively removes toxins from the body and helps the body be able to fix itself. So I gave you the story on zeolite or detoxolite. Other companies that say, oh yeah, we got zeolite. Like I said, one of them said, oh, in answer to my question of how do you clean it, they said, and they wrote it to me, I have it on an email. They said, oh, it doesn't need to be cleaned. It's a natural product. And Rick Deitch, I bounced that off of him, and he said, he laughed, and he said, they absolutely have no idea what zeolite is or how it works. All they see it as some rock and make it into some dust. That's it. It's got unique characteristics, but it must be micronized and activated properly. And the term detoxolite is the registered term that we use now, that he uses on all of his products. So anybody who's trying to copy him or use, and this is what we found out, they try to use his testimonials, people who have actually gotten well through using his product, and they try to use his scientific studies to back up their inferior pile of rocks. I mean, I got to put it bluntly, that's what's going on. But anyway, he's had to go through a lawsuit or two where he actually had to sue to force a company to take his name off their bottle that they called zeolite and put his name on it to support it. And it was not his formulation and did not work anything like his did. Anyway, enough on that for the moment. Let's talk about Cell Defender. His first discovery, and this one literally, I like how it's pointed here, both on the bottle, on the glass one and the plastic one. By the way, the plastic does not leach into it whatsoever. And but it's like the tip of the spear to all the work he did. This one, Cell Defender, is the one where the detoxolite is suspended in the water and it's down to the size of 1/7 the size of a red blood cell. It removes, look at the bulleted list here, removes heavy metals, toxins, and VOCs using detoxolite. It supports a healthy immune system, helps balance pH levels in the body. That's critical right there. Cancer thrives in an acidic environment. You need to have your environment in the basic range. It needs to be balanced properly so that it will not allow that kind of stuff to freely grow. Anyway, it's 100% natural and non-toxic, safe for long-term use. You cannot overdose on it. And I mean, if you use too much, you'll simply be wasting it. Your body can only process so much, anywhere from 5 to 15 drops per hour. If you take more than that, it won't hurt you though. All right, moving from Cell Defender, which was the main one, and that's the one that goes into the bloodstream and it cleans out heavy metals wherever the blood goes, wherever it goes. So it gets in and around your organs and all kinds of things and is constant. I look at it like a miniature pickup truck. Each of those pieces, like a little pickup truck, it goes in, it loads up with heavy metals and goes out. And how does it go out? It goes out typically through your urinary system. Does it hurt you on the way out? Absolutely not, because the heavy metals are trapped and locked inside those little chambers of the detoxolite, and it takes it safely out of you. Absolutely unique. All the results we've seen are astounding. Anyway, that said, we'll go to two more, this one and this one in particular, because they are synergistic with the first one, Cell Defender. The Zumidity mushrooms also has detoxolite, as you can see there in the notes. The interesting part about it is the detoxolite is a slightly larger size, designed not to go into the bloodstream, but instead to go into your stomach and collect heavy metals that are coming in through the foods you're currently eating. I mean, you're working hard to clean everything out using the Cell Defender of your bloodstream. Why would you want to just eat food and take in more heavy metals and have them go back into the bloodstream? So this he designed to take it out in the stomach area. It increases longevity, bulleted list there, cholesterol and blood sugar normalization, provides liver and kidney support, reduces risk of heart disease, improves respiratory function. Catch this last one, increases the apoptose action. There it is again. Another increase in that action. All right, let's jump to the plus fiber. And this is an interesting one because the detoxolite in this one is a slightly larger size yet to go through the stomach and into the colon area and to clean out the heavy metals that get past the stomach into the colon and to grab those before they can do any damage, before they can be released into the bloodstream. So a key factor here though, in the intestine, the colon area, there's these finger-like projections called intestinal villi, if you haven't read it yet, there. And those are there to take certain nutrients into your bloodstream, basically, so they can go to your parts of your body where they're needed. Well, if your digestive system is lined with too much junk, then absorption is highly limited. I saw a colon that was dissected, if you will, and it had like a 1/4 inch thick of what looked like a leather coating on the walls of the colon. You couldn't even see the villi, completely coated over and not working, obviously. Well, this helps solve that problem. It scours off the material that's getting stuck in your colon. Over time, it cleans it off completely. Your villi can work well, and it lessens your chance of having colon problems. Well, look at this fact. Just before we finish up on plus fiber, the average American male has 20 pounds of undigested food in his colon, putrefying in the colon, and in essence, turning to the leather coating. John Wayne had 40 plus pounds in his colon when he died. It's a sad picture, but that's what's going on. I mean, to me, it was a huge blessing in my life to become aware of the need of supplemental or well, anyway, additional fiber in the diet. And I've been using it since 20 years old. What an amazing change it can make when that is taken care of. Sadly, with our diet, we're getting a lot of this stuff stuck in our colons. Well, let's finish up with plus fiber. First of all, it's whole food. It has detoxolite. Look at what it does. It reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease. Heard that before? Helps lower cholesterol, stabilizes healthy blood sugar. We've seen people with blood sugar issues have dramatic stabilization there. And supports a healthy colon and gut, helps with weight loss. This is tremendously important. Now, with the first three we've talked about, the cell defender, the Zoom mushrooms, and the plus fiber, those discoveries alone are cleaning out heavy metals and toxins like we've never seen it happen before, simply and efficiently, keeping them out of the stomach and colon so they don't add to the body burden, and the cell defender taking it out of the bloodstream everywhere the blood goes. A very complete picture. Let's move on. The fourth one, and my recent brother who had major problems with bad cells growing in his colon, I'm sorry, not his colon, but his prostate area, the one who had a very, very bad prostate picture, and in 2 months, it was all the way down to healthy. And 5 months later, the doctor did a biopsy and couldn't find a trace of any kind of prostate issues. Well, this nano silver is not designed to take heavy metals and toxins out. No, look at the red print. It's antifungal, so it goes after funguses, antiviral, viruses, bacterias, and parasites. It takes the living things that are bad that want to harm you out of your body. And look at the bulleted list, supports a healthy immune system, can be applied in or on the body because one of them is a liquid form, one of them is a gel form. Naturally effective for several days. It definitely supports the gut, immune, and microbiome health. Ideal, safe, and effective. Look at the last one. You heard that word before, apoptosis. It helps the immune system. The apoptosis is increased through the cleaning out of this garbage, this living garbage. Interestingly enough, this particular silver is absolutely different than any other silver made today. I've used a lot of different types of silvers, and every single one of them, there was always a caution. Don't drink too much of that. Don't get too much of that inside of you. You'll turn blue. It'll get stuck. Well, silver particles typically are very sharp and jagged, and they can get stuck in your body very readily. So most silvers are used on exterior problems, or typically should be. This particular one, every single particle, never heard of it this way, but this particular silver, every single particle is round, it's spherical, and it's oxygen coated, if you will. Doesn't get stuck in you. I actually drank the whole bottle once, no problem. It's in and out of you within 24 hours, and it takes out all these living bad things. I mean, we live in an age when there's constant junk going around, viruses and bacteria, and everybody's got parasites to one degree or another. This is an amazing, amazing discovery. And I strongly recommend you look further into it. I do have, we have available little 3 to 5 minute statements by the scientists about each one of these. Those are worth listening to. So talk to whoever invited you on, and let's make sure you listen to those. Oh my goodness. A little bit more about nano silver now. Let me just play this. And I have to agree. I can't believe the National Geographic admitted this about parasites. This is amazing.
Really shocked when I found out that this is something that affects every single living human. In fact, every single living organism on the face of the earth. You could be leading a healthy lifestyle. You could be jogging, eating raw food, taking vitamins and all those kind of things. But these guys don't care. These guys are persistent. They're dangerous. They're deadly. They've been around for millions of years. They know what they're doing, and they're inside of all of us. And we're constantly being exposed to what's going on. And it's going on inside every one of us. And this is something that we all need to take very seriously. This is not science fiction. This is scary, it's real, and it's serious. Monsters living inside us, they eat our bodies and control our emotions, urges, and thoughts.
As a colon hydrotherapist for approximately 21 years now, you wouldn't believe what I see coming out of people's bodies.
This is not just a third world country thing. Everybody has them. Even normal people with lots of money live in suburbia who take showers 3 times a day. If you eat sushi, you have parasites. 1 square inch of raw sushi meat can contain 10,000 parasite larvae and eggs that begin hatching inside you the minute you eat it. The most common kind is tapeworms, which can grow to 60 feet long and live in your intestines for decades. If you have pets, you are guaranteed to have parasites. It doesn't matter if you're vegetarian, raw foodist, vegan, or macrobiotic. Even the healthiest and richest people on earth have parasites. You can't kill them all, only control them, because our bodies have trillions of cells which rely on helpful bacteria like probiotics to work right. If we kill all the organisms in our body, we kill ourselves. The secret is to keep the bad guys to a minimum. Make our bodies so healthy and clean, the undesirable guests won't want to stick around. Parasites are living alien creatures who live off of others. They eat your food, they poop their waste inside you, making your blood, lymph, and tissues toxic. Common signs of parasites are you're tired a lot, sleeping problems, constant itching, weakness, headaches, lack of appetite, or hungry all the time, especially for sweet foods and carbs. Flu-like symptoms, depression, skin problems, acne, arthritis, joint pains, eczema, dermatitis, sinus problems, breathing and lung problems like pneumonia, then uncontrollable coughing, lumps under the skin, cysts, diarrhea and constipation, sometimes alternating back and forth, mucus in your stool, irritable bowel syndrome, stomach aches, cramps, digestion problems, nausea, overly dry lips, vision and eye problems, gas, bloating. Parasites can burrow into your brain and cause nerve damage and eye problems. They can multiply so much in your gut what you think is fat may in fact be entire nests of parasites. Parasites can even contribute to infertility and childbirth difficulty.
Subject to this, like it or not, it's a fact.
Tests done at funeral homes show that 97% of the body fluids in people were totally consumed with parasites and worms. Scientists are just beginning to discover exactly how powerful and disturbing these hidden monsters can be. Our cells are controlled by chemical signals. Parasites emit a chemical that directly affects our behavior, thoughts, decisions, and urges. Are you willing to do what it takes to free yourself from something that's controlling you from inside? Who's in charge, you or them?
I don't know, maybe I owe you an apology after that one. Anyway, let's move on to Plus Relief. What is it? It's a pain control product that was probably one of the most unique ones for me. Coming home with hand injuries from Vietnam, it was very, very interesting to me because I would hold a glass of water and sharp pain would hit my hand from that problem, and the water would go flying, or at least drop to the floor and break and that type of thing. And it was a real challenge for me. But the specialized peptides in Plus Relief block the action of acetylcholine, a major stimulating receptor of the nervous system and an activator of the inflammatory pathways. And these peptides are harvested from Asian cobra venom. Very, very unique. As a result, pain and inflammation are temporarily shut off, giving the benefits of pain relief and reduced inflammation as well. Perfect. It's non-addictive. You can use it for long-term. It will not hurt you a bit. So Plus Relief, here's the bulleted list. It works on multiple types of chronic pain. It's safe and effective, all natural, long-lasting, easy to use, non-narcotic and non-addictive, analgesic and anti-inflammatory. It helps reverse some of the problems. The advanced arthritis that I have in my hands because of those injuries, they've done a lot of studies on them with the VA medical system and whatnot. And they say all they'll give me is basically oxycodone. But this is anti-inflammatory. It helps reverse some of that problem. I can use my hands, punch a punching bag, lift things, do what I used to be able to do because I pretty much use it almost every day. I take a spray in my mouth because it's available in roll-on and gel, but also an oral spray. By the way, this is a registered homeopathic remedy in the United States. The roll-on and the gel is the exact same thing, just in a different type dispenser. I just take the big pump and put some gel in my hands and work it onto my hands and then put it on my knees and my shoulder. But I got to tell you something about this. First, let me tell you the last line here, the last bulleted item. One study shows this discovery to be 600 times more potent than morphine. That's amazing. Yet it does not have the drawbacks that morphine has, side effects. You can't be driving around the city when you're on morphine. Trust me on that one. You may not be able to even be awake half the time. But anyway, the Plus Relief, though, with my hands, It took literally 15 minutes of one big coating. And at the end of 15 minutes, I literally could punch a punching bag and use my hands regularly. And that only lasted about 5 hours. The next coating lasted 12 hours approximately, and it got longer as I did it, as I repeated it. And then here's what I want to caution anyone that's listening on, and that is this. When you use Plus Relief, be extremely patient. Every body is different. In fact, every part of the body seems to be different, because with my injured knees, I put the Plus Relief gel on and I sprayed the spray in my mouth, and I had to do it day after day after day, 5 full days, putting it on my knees every 3 hours. And finally, at the end of 5 days of doing that, it took. I could run hills. I could do what I used to do over again. So now I use it very kind of regularly. I don't wait until the pain comes back. I was coached into not doing that, and rather just kind of keep some going so that it kind of keeps it relieved and I can just act normally. And it's been wonderful. This is one of my favorites right here. That said, we have Plus Energy, and this one is probably the most favorite one of my wife's for me. Kind of interesting. And part of the reason is I don't really need the energy. I'm energetic most of the time. But now if I'm driving 10 hours, like from California to Oregon or something like that, Central California all the way to mid-Oregon here, took me 10 hours and I didn't have any. I only drank was a half a bottle of this. It's a 2-ounce bottle. Drank 1 ounce. Shook it up really well first. Why? Because it's got detoxolite in it and it'll settle to the bottom. Want to make use of that. Shook it up, drank some. I never had the slightest bit of dozing or fatigue feeling all the way home. But here's what my wife loved about it. I get going so fast, I'm grabbing this pad and that pad. And I was in the shower once and asked her to go get a notepad. And because I had a bunch of thoughts I needed to put down and I couldn't do it while I was in the shower. Anyway, she said, you know what? She went in the kitchen and got a bottle of this. She said, I think you need a little bit of this. And I drank some. She just handed it over to me. I drank some, a little bit. And she says she couldn't believe the change. Well, here's why. For me, this provides, look at the first bulleted item, stress reduction and cognitive enhancement. It made it so the things I was thinking of became more orderly in my mind. I could remember them better, and she was able to put them down, or I just did it after I got out. It contains 125 milligrams of natural caffeine from guarana seed, but there's no caffeine jitters at all. And it has the calming energy of theanine. So last 2 bullets, it moderates the production of cortisol, a key stress hormone, aids in the removal of toxins from the digestive tract with the detoxolite. So this has the detoxolite in it as well. This one is a wonderful product. Take a look at the label. On the back of the bottle, I wanted to blow this up and show you because the third item is the provision of natural energy. So this is way more than just an energy drink. Look at the first one. It says potent adaptogenic blend is proven protective, raises resistance to physical and chemical or biological stresses. And secondly, it boosts recovery, normalize metabolism and physiological functioning. And then the third one is the natural energy. So it's very, very, very interesting to me and to my wife, I should say. But anyway, that said, there's one called Trim Science. He discovered this one relatively recently. And Trim Science comes in a coffee, a chocolate, a lemonade, and a matcha flavor. And in essence, it can replace your cup of coffee in the morning, but it provides adaptogens for focus. It's a fat burner, a fat blocker, a carb blocker, and it contains detoxolite for removal of the toxins. So a very well-rounded product that you can sip all day long if you want to. Well, I wouldn't sip it too close to bedtime, but anyway, that's for me. I'm very sensitive to caffeine. Anyway, here's a recent testimonial about Trim Science. This gentleman was 310 pounds. He's 6 feet 10 inches tall, big guy. Now he's down to, a year later, approximately, he's down to a little over a year, down to 265, much leaner. And he says he does 2 scoops of the Avini Trim Science daily, 4 scoops of the Avini Plus Fiber daily, And he takes all of the products. So he uses the Cell Defender and the Zimini mushrooms as well. But anyway, that said, here's his picture. There's where he started, and there's where he is now. Clearly a real transformation, to say the least. That said, one more discovery, and this one came out just recently. And I have to say that not all hydration products are the same. This one, some of the details, and Rick Deitch explains it way better. There's some detailed explanations that he has. I encourage you to listen to those. But basically, there needs to be three things for real proper hydration. And proper hydration isn't just dumping water into your stomach. It's having the water go into your body and get into your cells at a cellular level to basically help you be hydrated all the way through. So what does that take? It takes three things: water, electrolytes, and carbohydrates. So, and here's the list. Electrolytes provide charged particles within the body that help hold on to the water. The higher the net charges in the body, the more water your body will retain. So the water gets used instead of just wasted through sweat or urine. The carbohydrates, and by the way, these aren't going to hurt anybody. It's a very special kind, go into the muscle to rebuild glycogen stores after physical exercise. Helps you feel way more refreshed, way more quickly. And since carbs are water attracting, this drives water into the muscles where it's needed most. The interesting part about this is this word osmolality. And I'm going to define it. It's a measure of solid particles in a liquid. Water will always flow from areas of low osmolality to areas of high osmolality. Well, you got to speak Greek almost to understand this. But anyway, stick with me. The osmolality of the stomach is at least 250. For water to be absorbed efficiently from the stomach, the osmolality needs to be less than 250. All other hydration products have an osmolality that is much higher. Only Avini Health's Plus Hydration has a maximum osmolality of 220. This ensures rapid systemic hydration every time you drink it. I got to tell you right now, if you can listen to Rick Deitch talk about this on at least one or more of his talks, he talks about a championship ice hockey team in Europe where the players have to be replaced very often because they become dehydrated and extremely tired. And he was talking particularly about the what is it called? The one by the net. Anyway, the whatever it is. Anyway, I'm not much of an ice hockey fan. The goalie. And the interesting part about this goalie is he had never been able to spend more than a half a game at a time. They would have to put another goalie in. And even though he kept his water bottle on the net and he drank often from it, he was absolutely exhausted by the halfway point. They put another goalie in to finish the game, or maybe two more goalies in to finish the game. When he started using Plus Hydration, it wasn't called that 10 years ago when it was being tested, and this team used it, he, for the first time in his life, was able to spend the whole game without a problem. And he did that all the time. He played the whole game. And the interesting part about it is at the last game where they took the championship, they brought Rick out onto the ice and honored him because they were convinced that Plus Hydration helped them capture the championship. Very, very interesting story. But I got a local one to tell you. I got to tell you. My wife and I were raking leaves. We're in a place where there's lots of pine trees, but there's a lot of oak trees as well. And so we rake several pickup truckloads of weeds out of here each season. And we were out raking for quite a few hours one day. And she finally said, "Dave, I'm hammered. I'm at the end. I got to go in." I said, "That's okay. Go rest and I'll be in a little bit." Anyway, so I raked a little bit longer and I was out there for another half hour. And all of a sudden, she comes walking out only 15, 20 minutes after she had gone in. She comes, I got to say it this way, she comes prancing out the door. It was unbelievable. I'm going, "What in the world? I thought you were going to take a nap." And she says, "I drank some of that Plus Hydration. I can't believe how good I feel." It just takes care of the fatigue extremely quickly. It reinitiates you. It's not an energy drink, but it's an amazing hydration product. And so I strongly recommend you check into that one. Last but not least, they have the Plus Relief pain product and the Cell Defender for getting heavy metals and toxins out for pets, dogs and cats and so on. That said, I got to ask the question, are you beginning to understand these truly successful solutions to the problems? I hope so. So I leave you with this, basically, a couple more notes in a minute, but be encouraged to clean your own body out now. And I say that because I told you I lost 5 siblings. Well, the 5th one only passed away about 3 or 4 months ago at the most now. And we used a cell defender and Zaminity mushrooms and plus fiber and so on with him. And he had an amazing transition, and he transitioned all the way to what looked like a perfect life. And his bad cells were completely gone. All of his swollen glands that were the size of almost a grapefruit all went down and receded. He looked normal again. The cells were gone. He was well. The problem was, and this is why I'm saying don't wait. The problem was with my brother John, he didn't wait. We just didn't know about it until he was, he'd been at stage 4 for 8 years. And the interesting part is that when we got him cleaned out of heavy metals, he became excitedly raring to go. Bought a new car, spent a lot of time with his 5 children and his grandkids and the rest of us siblings and so on. But when it came to a year and a half, all of a sudden, all of his organs basically quit. And in 2 weeks, we buried him. And why? Well, I examined his studies, his urine studies, his blood studies, and all these different things that were done over those 8 years. And every time the study was out, I was looking at this with Rick and some others, and every time those studies came out, it showed that his organs were a little less productive each time. So basically, the way it was described to me is that John, my brother, was living on battery power. When we got him cleaned out, he was living great and on a fully charged battery, so to speak. But a year and a half went by, battery power ran out. He had no way to recharge it because his organs and his systems had gone so far down over that 8 years of stage 4. So a little bit, not enough, little too late, whatever, however you want to call it. My brother Steve learned from it. He went right after it and he got well. But he hadn't been at stage 4. If he was at stage 4, it wasn't very long. So I say, why wait until something major develops in your body? Why not have the joy of cleaning it out and preventing something and not ever knowing what you prevented? That's okay. Anyway, so that said, remember, this is the actual answer. Take out the heavy metals and toxins, and the body will fix itself. But remember also, air, food, water. We are all taking it in every day. I know there's a tendency for some of the young people that I know to think, I don't have that problem. I'm fine, man. Look at me. I can run and do what it's coming one day, sooner or later. What about the kids that are 9 to 11 years old showing heart disease like crazy? And the fact of the matter is, if we take out the heavy metals and toxins, the body begins to fix itself like it was designed to do. Okay, now, how does Avini, as a little company, get these discoveries to people at large? Well, through corporations, they tried that. Through stores, they tried that. It didn't work. Basically, they consider folks that share with others their advertising methodology. So they take all the money that a normal company would have at advertising, and they're willing to pay it out to people who spend time sharing their personal testimonies, their word of mouth communications about the great value of what has happened through these discoveries. So you can be rewarded for helping others, in other words. And it's very simple to become a wholesale buyer and share with others. Bottom line is, when you become a wholesale buyer, then you're getting it for a way better price. So getting started is very simple. You activate by purchasing one of these Avini activation packs. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them there. Each one of them is a full 40% off. And it's the only time you get a full 40% off straight out. And ask the person that invited you to show you a copy of this, or I can get you a copy, whatever. Anyway, it's worth looking at. So if you believe that you're able to help others benefit from improved health, then be encouraged to become a Navini wholesale buyer. Seriously, seriously consider that. People need the help. And what's going on today, as far as the bad things, is amazingly true. And we have an answer. So why not be rewarded for helping others simply by sharing? And what I put in red here, I like. This little company makes it very simple for you to earn enough income to easily afford your own supplies, or even to build a solid business if you wanted to. That's completely up to you. There's no pressure, no expectations, no requirements. So remember, what's the key? Take out the heavy metals and toxins, and the body will fix itself.